You won't believe these 10 real discoveries that were instantly hidden from the world. I'm talking about stuff so crazy, so mind-blowing, that the powers that be allegedly slammed the lid on it faster than you can hit that subscribe button. We've dug deep, gone through the archives, and found stories that sound like they're straight out of a movie. But here's the kicker: every single one of these has a basis in reality, with claims and whispers of cover-ups that have persisted for decades, sometimes even centuries. Get ready, because your view of history might just get flipped upside down. We're not just talking about small oopsies here, we're talking about discoveries that could have rewritten history books, challenged scientific understanding, or even revealed truths about our place in the universe that some people really didn't want you to know. From top-secret military experiments that went bizarrely wrong to ancient artifacts that defy all explanation. These are the tales they tried to bury. But guess what? Secrets have a way of bubbling to the surface, especially when they're this big. We're going to expose them, one by one. And trust me, you're going to be shocked. So buckle up, grab your tinfoil hats if you need them, because we're diving headfirst into the shadows. This isn't just a list, it's a journey into the unknown, uncovering the evidence, the eyewitness accounts, and the chilling silence that followed. Are you ready to question everything? Good, because that's exactly what we're about to do. Let's dive into the secrets history tried to erase. This is going to be an absolutely insane ride, so don't go anywhere. Alright, kicking things off with something absolutely wild. Imagine this, it's 1943, World War II is raging and the US Navy is desperate for an edge. They're looking for a way to make their ships invisible to enemy radar, maybe even to the naked eye. This is where the legend of the Philadelphia experiment and the USS Eldridge begins. A secret naval experiment in 1943 allegedly made a ship invisible. Then the story vanished. Guys, we're talking about technology that sounds like science fiction, supposedly being tested in the real world during one of the most critical times in history. The amount of resources they must have poured into this is unimaginable. The stories claim that the USS Eldridge wasn't just made invisible to radar, some accounts say it literally disappeared in a flash of green light, only to reappear hundreds of miles away in Norfolk, Virginia, moments later, before then reappearing back in Philadelphia. Think about that. Teleportation in 1943, but it gets even crazier. The alleged effects on the crew were horrifying. Some sailors were supposedly fused to the ship's metal structure, others went insane, some rematerialized inside out, and some just vanished completely. This wasn't just a simple cloaking device test if these stories are true. It was something far more profound and terrifying. Now you'd think an experiment this monumental with such dramatic outcomes would be front-page news, right? Or at least heavily documented in military archives. Wrong. The official story? It never happened. The Navy has consistently denied that any such experiment took place, dismissing it as a hoax or a misunderstanding of routine degaussing procedures meant to make ships undetectable to magnetic mines. But the eyewitness accounts, the alleged leaks from supposed insiders like Carlos Allende, they paint a vastly different picture, one of a groundbreaking, terrifying experiment that the government wanted to bury deep. The sheer persistence of this story is what makes it so compelling. For decades, researchers and conspiracy theorists have been trying to piece together what really happened in the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. Were they dabbling with Einstein's unified field theory? Did they accidentally rip a hole in space-time? The questions are huge, and the official answers are, well, non-existent or complete denials. This silence, this absolute refusal to acknowledge anything beyond the mundane, only fuels the fire that something extraordinary, and perhaps terrifying, was discovered, and then immediately covered up. Think about the implications if this was real. The ability to make objects invisible, to teleport them across vast distances. That's technology that would change the world, warfare, everything. So why would they hide it? Was it too dangerous? Did they lose control? Or did they achieve something so monumental they knew humanity wasn't ready for it? Or worse, they wanted to keep it all for themselves. The Philadelphia experiment remains one of the biggest what-ifs of the 20th century. A chilling reminder that sometimes, the biggest secrets are the ones hidden in plain sight, denied until they become mere legend. Next up, we're heading to the remote, desolate wilderness of Siberia. The year is 1908. Imagine, out of absolutely nowhere, an explosion so powerful it flattens over 2,000 square kilometers of forest. That's an area bigger than some countries. We're talking about an estimated 80 million trees knocked down like dominoes, windows shattered hundreds of kilometers away, and a shockwave felt around the world. This was the Tunguska event, and the mystery surrounding its real cause was almost as explosive as the event itself. In 1908, a massive explosion flattened Siberia. The real cause? Quickly buried by authorities, or so the whispers say. What could cause such devastation? The initial most common theory was a meteorite or a comet fragment exploding a few miles above the surface. Makes sense, right? But here's where it gets weird. Expeditions to the site, which were delayed for years due to the remoteness and political turmoil in Russia, found no impact crater, none. For an explosion of that magnitude, you'd expect a pretty significant hole in the ground, but there was nothing. This lack of a crater immediately opened the door to all sorts of wild theories, and you know we love those. Some people started speculating it wasn't a natural event at all. Could it have been an alien spacecraft exploding, or perhaps a test of some super-advanced secret weapon way ahead of its time? Nikola Tesla, the genius inventor, was even rumored to be involved, with some suggesting he was testing a death ray or a wireless energy transmission that went catastrophically wrong. The Soviet authorities at the time, and later, were not exactly forthcoming with information. Early investigations were limited, and access to the site was heavily controlled, leading many to believe they were trying to suppress what they found or didn't find. The official explanations, when they came, stuck to the meteorite or comet theory, despite the glaring lack of a crater. But the inconsistencies and the initial secrecy fueled decades of speculation. Why the delay in proper investigation? Why the tight control over information? Were they simply baffled, or did they discover something they didn't want the world to know? The sheer scale of the Tunguska event is mind-boggling. The energy released was estimated to be hundreds of times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. To have something like that happen, and then to have so many unanswered questions, it's just begging for a cover-up theory. Even today, scientists are still debating the exact cause. While the leading theory remains an airburst of a celestial body, the way the event was handled in its early days, the lack of immediate transparent investigation, and the persistence of alternative theories show how easily a narrative can be controlled or obscured. Imagine if they did find evidence of something extraterrestrial, or a failed secret experiment. That's the kind of discovery that would be locked down instantly. The Tunguska event remains a stark reminder of nature's terrifying power and perhaps humanity's desire to control the narrative. This next one is straight up chilling. We're talking about the Dyatlov Pass incident. In February 1959, 9 experienced ski hikers ventured into the northern Ural Mountains in Russia. These weren't amateurs, they were tough, skilled students from the Ural Polytechnical Institute. They set up camp on the slopes of Kholat-Syakhl, which translates to Dead Mountain, a little foreshadowing maybe. What happened next is one of history's most terrifying and baffling unsolved mysteries, and guess what? Official files were sealed for decades, making everyone ask, what were they hiding? When the hikers failed to send a pre-arranged telegram, search parties were dispatched. What they found was beyond bizarre. The hikers' tent was discovered heavily damaged, sliced open from the inside. It looked like they had fled in a panic, in the middle of the night into sub-zero temperatures, and get this, many of them were barefoot or only partially dressed. Why would experienced hikers do that? What could have scared them so badly that they'd cut their way out of their only shelter and run into a frozen wasteland without proper gear? It just doesn't make any sense. The bodies were found scattered over a wide area, some near a makeshift fire under a cedar tree, others further down a ravine. The initial cause of death for most was hypothermia, but then things got even stranger. 3 of the hikers had fatal injuries, 1 had a fractured skull, and 2 others had major chest fractures, injuries described by a medical examiner as consistent with the force of a car crash. Yet there were no external signs of struggle on these bodies, and to top it all off, some of their clothing was found to be radioactive. Radioactive. What was going on out there? The Soviet investigation concluded that an unknown compelling natural force had caused the deaths. That's it, an unknown compelling natural force. Can you get any more vague? This explanation satisfied absolutely no one. The files were quickly classified, access was restricted, and the area was closed off for years. This secrecy, of course, led to an explosion of theories. Were they attacked by local Mansi tribesmen? Was it an avalanche, though evidence for a typical avalanche was weak? Or something far more sinister, like a secret military weapons test gone wrong, or even an encounter with a Yeti or aliens. The fact that the files remained sealed for so long, and even when partially opened, offered such an unsatisfactory explanation, screams cover-up. What kind of natural force causes internal injuries like a car crash without external bruising and leaves traces of radiation? It just doesn't add up. The Dyatlov Pass incident is a perfect storm of mystery, tragedy, and alleged government obfuscation. 9 lives lost, and the truth seemingly buried under layers of official secrecy and the Siberian snow. This is one of those stories that just gets under your skin and stays there. Alright, buckle up because we're heading to Roswell, New Mexico, 1947. This is the granddaddy of all UFO stories, the one that basically launched the entire modern UFO phenomenon. It all started when a rancher named W.W. Brazel discovered some really strange debris scattered across his property. We're not talking about your average trash. This stuff was weird, metallic, lightweight, but incredibly strong, and some pieces had strange symbols on them. A supposed UFO crash in 1947. Witnesses silenced, evidence confiscated. This is where the legend begins, and man, does it get crazy. Initially, the local Roswell Army Airfield put out a press release saying they had recovered a flying disc. A flying disc. Can you imagine the excitement? The headline screamed across the country, finally proof. But then, just as quickly as the news broke, the military did a complete 180. Suddenly it wasn't a flying disc anymore. Oh no, it was just a weather balloon. A weather balloon, guys. From crashed alien spacecraft to oops, just some rubber and tinfoil. That quick change in story smelled fishier than a week-old sardine to a lot of people. Witnesses who saw the debris, including military personnel who handled it, later came forward with accounts that flatly contradicted the weather balloon story. They described materials unlike anything they'd ever seen, and some even claimed to have seen alien bodies being recovered from a larger crash site. But these witnesses were allegedly heavily intimidated, sworn to secrecy, and their stories suppressed for decades. The official narrative was set in stone weather balloon, nothing to see here, move along. But why the intense pressure to silence people if it was just a harmless weather balloon? The Roswell incident became a cornerstone of UFO lore. Researchers and authors dug into the story for years, uncovering more and more testimonies that suggested a massive cover-up. The idea was that the government had not only recovered an alien spacecraft, but also its occupants. And they were desperate to keep this world-shattering discovery under wraps. The technology, the implications for humanity, for religion, for our understanding of the universe, it would have been too much. So, the story goes, they concocted the weather balloon explanation and clamped down hard. Even though the Air Force released reports in the 1990s trying to further explain it away as a top-secret high-altitude balloon project called Project Mogul designed to detect Soviet nuclear tests, many weren't convinced. Too many inconsistencies, too many first-hand accounts of truly bizarre materials and events. The Roswell incident, whether you believe it was aliens or not, is a masterclass in how a narrative can be controlled and how an event can be shrouded in mystery and alleged suppression. It's the ultimate what if they really did find something not of this earth, and what else are they hiding? Okay, this next one takes us to the deserts of the Middle East and a discovery that literally shook the foundations of biblical scholarship. We're talking about the Dead Sea Scrolls. In 1947, what a year for weird stuff, right? Bedouin shepherds stumbled upon ancient scrolls hidden in clay jars inside caves near Qumran by the Dead Sea. These weren't just any old documents, they were some of the oldest known manuscripts of the Hebrew Bible, along with other non-biblical texts from a mysterious Jewish sect, possibly the Essenes. Ancient texts found in 1947, some contents kept hidden for years. The question is why? The discovery was monumental. We're talking about texts that were over 2,000 years old, dating back to the time of Jesus. This was like finding a historical treasure chest that could provide unprecedented insight into Judaism and early Christianity. You'd think scholars would be racing to translate and publish everything as quickly as possible for the world to see, right? Well, that's not exactly how it played out. While some scrolls were published relatively quickly, a significant portion remained under tight control of a small, international team of scholars, and access was incredibly restricted. For decades, other researchers and the public were left wondering what these unpublished scrolls contained. The slow pace of publication led to all sorts of theories. Were the scrolls being deliberately suppressed? Did they contain information that contradicted established religious doctrines or historical narratives? The Vatican was often implicated in these theories, with some speculating that the Church feared the scrolls might reveal uncomfortable truths about early Christianity or the historical Jesus. The longer the silence, the wilder the speculation grew. It was a perfect recipe for a cover-up narrative. The scholars in charge argued that the scrolls were incredibly fragile and their work was meticulous and time-consuming. Fair enough. But the lack of transparency and the exclusivity of access fueled intense frustration and suspicion in the wider academic community and among the public. It wasn't until the 1990s, after immense pressure and even unauthorized publications, that access was finally broadened and the full corpus of scrolls began to be made available. That's a long time to wait for something so important. Imagine the secrets that could be kept under wraps for that long. Even with most of the scrolls now published, the legacy of that initial period of restricted access and slow release continues to spark curiosity and debate. Were there genuine reasons for the delay, or was there an element of control, a desire to manage how this potentially revolutionary information was disseminated? The Dead Sea Scrolls are a testament to an incredible archaeological find, but also a case study in how the handling of such discoveries can lead to profound questions about who controls knowledge and why. What if there are still interpretations or fragments they don't want us to connect? Alright, space fans, this one is literally out of this world. Have you ever heard of the Black Knight satellite? This is a story about a mysterious dark object supposedly orbiting Earth, an object that some believe is an extraterrestrial probe, possibly thousands of years old, monitoring humanity. The legend really took off in the 1950s and 60s, around the dawn of the space age, when strange signals were reportedly picked up and unconventional satellite sightings were rumored. Detected in the 1960s, it was quickly dismissed by NASA. But is it really just space junk? The story has many threads. Some point to Nikola Tesla allegedly picking up repeating signals from space in 1899. Others cite long-delayed radio echoes heard by amateur radio operators in the 1920s. But the Black Knight name became more prominent when newspapers in the 1950s reported on U.S. Air Force sightings of unidentified objects in orbit, even before humans had officially launched many satellites. Then, in 1960, Time magazine reported that the U.S. Navy had detected a dark, tumbling object in a strange near-polar orbit, something neither the U.S. nor the Soviets claimed ownership of at the time. NASA and other official sources have consistently dismissed the Black Knight as a collection of unrelated stories, misidentified objects like thermal blankets or other space debris and hoaxes. For example, famous photos often associated with the Black Knight, taken during the STS-88 shuttle mission in 1998, are officially identified by NASA as a thermal blanket lost by astronaut Jerry Ross during an EVA. But for believers, this is just part of the cover-up. They argue that the object's alleged ancient origins and its persistent, unexplained presence simply don't fit the official narrative. The mystery deepens when you consider the sheer volume of anecdotal evidence and the way the story has evolved over time, incorporating new sightings and interpretations. Is it possible that there's an unknown object up there silently watching us? And if so, why would governments want to hide its existence? The implications would be staggering proof of alien intelligence right here in our backyard. That's the kind of truth that would shatter paradigms and could be seen as too disruptive to reveal. So, is the Black Knight satellite a genuine alien artifact, a piece of advanced technology from a bygone era or another civilization, carefully expunged from official records? Or is it simply a compelling myth woven from disparate events, misidentifications, and a human desire to believe we're not alone? The official line is clear: it's debris. But the legend of the Black Knight persists, a dark enigma against the backdrop of space, fueling the idea that some secrets are kept not just on Earth but in orbit around it. What do you think is up there? Get your shovels ready, because we're heading to Oak Island, Nova Scotia, home to one of the world's longest-running and most frustrating treasure hunts. For over 200 years, people have been obsessed with the mystery of the so-called Money Pit, a deep, man-made shaft where legendary treasures, pirate gold, Marie Antoinette's jewels, Shakespearean manuscripts, even the Holy Grail, are rumored to be buried. Treasure hunters found strange artifacts, many details never released. This place is a magnet for mystery and possibly for cover-ups. The story began in 1795 when a young man named Daniel McGinnis discovered a circular depression in the ground with a tackle block hanging from a tree. He and his friends started digging, and what they found was incredible. Layers of oak platforms every 10 feet down. This wasn't natural. This was clearly man-made and incredibly sophisticated, but the deeper they dug, the more complex and dangerous the pit became, with elaborate booby traps like flood tunnels designed to fill the shaft with seawater. Who would go to such lengths to protect whatever is down there? Over the centuries, countless expeditions, costing millions of dollars and even several lives, have tried to unearth Oak Island's secrets. They've found tantalizing clues, a stone tablet with cryptic symbols, now lost conveniently, scraps of parchment, coconut fibers not native to Nova Scotia, old coins, and even human bones. But every time they're close to a breakthrough, something goes wrong. The pit floods, equipment breaks, or funding runs out. It's like the island is fighting back, or maybe someone is ensuring the deepest secrets stay buried. The drama here isn't just about the hunt. It's about the information, or the lack thereof. With so many groups involved over 2 centuries, records are scattered, stories conflict, and artifacts have gone missing or been privately sold. When significant finds are made, especially in televised expeditions, there's always the question, are we seeing everything? Are some discoveries deemed too sensitive or too mundane for the treasure narrative and quietly shelved? The sheer investment and persistence suggests someone believes there's something huge there. The mystery of Oak Island is a perfect breeding ground for theories of suppressed discoveries. What if earlier expeditions actually found something major and spirited it away, leaving later hunters to chase shadows? Or what if the true nature of what's buried there is so historically significant that its revelation is being carefully managed, or outright prevented? The layers of secrecy, lost artifacts, and the mind-boggling effort put into whatever is buried there make Oak Island a legend that just won't die, hinting that the biggest discovery might be the one they never tell us about. This one sounds like it's ripped straight from a Hollywood blockbuster, but I promise you, it's real. We're talking about the CIA's Stargate project. Yes, you heard that right. The United States government, specifically the CIA and Defense Intelligence Agency, spent millions of dollars and over 2 decades investigating and trying to weaponize psychic abilities like remote viewing. A real psychic spying program, documents classified for decades. Can you believe they were actually doing this? It's absolutely bonkers. The program ran from the 1970s all the way into the mid-1990s, born out of Cold War paranoia that the Soviets were making headway in psychotronic research. The US didn't want to be left behind in a potential gap, so they started their own top-secret projects with names like Skinate, Grill Flame, and finally, Stargate. They recruited and trained individuals who claimed to have psychic abilities, tasking them with viewing distant locations, hidden documents, and even future events, all using the power of their minds. Imagine being a fly on the wall in those meetings. These remote viewers were given coordinates and asked to describe what they saw. Some of their alleged successes are pretty startling. They supposedly located a downed Soviet bomber in Africa, described the construction of a new class of Soviet submarine, and even pinpointed the location of kidnapped U.S. General James Dozier in Italy. Of course, there were also many misses, and the reliability was always a huge question mark. But the fact that high-level intelligence agencies poured resources into this for so long suggests they saw some potential, or were at least desperate enough to try anything. For decades, the very existence of these programs was classified, shrouded in secrecy. If you talked about government psychic spying, you'd sound like a conspiracy nut. But then, in 1995, the CIA declassified many of the Stargate project documents, and the world got a peek into this bizarre chapter of intelligence history. The official reason for shutting it down was that it wasn't proving operationally useful or reliable enough. But the declassification itself raised questions. Was everything released? Or were the truly sensitive successes, or perhaps more disturbingly, the more dangerous aspects or implications, still kept under wraps? The idea that the government was seriously exploring psychic phenomena on this scale is mind-blowing enough, but the decades of secrecy surrounding it naturally make you wonder what else they might have experimented with or discovered in these fringe areas of science and consciousness. Were there other, even stranger programs? Did they find out things about human potential that they decided were too dangerous or too powerful for the public to know? The Stargate project, even declassified, leaves a lingering sense of surprise and a whole lot of what-ifs. They actually tried this. Alright, let's talk about one of the most mysterious and heavily guarded collections of documents on the planet, the Vatican Secret Archives, or as they're now officially known, the Vatican Apostolic Archive. We're talking about miles of shelving. Some estimates say over 50 miles, packed with historical documents, letters, papal account books, and state papers accumulated by the Holy See over centuries. Some discoveries in the archives are so controversial they're locked away. The name itself just screams secrets, doesn't it? Now, the Vatican insists that secret in its original Latin name, Archivum Secretum Vaticanum, doesn't mean secretive in the modern sense, but rather private or personal, as in the Pope's private archive, and they have made efforts to allow more scholars access over the years. But let's be real, the sheer mystique, the limited access, you can't just browse, you have to request specific documents, and not everything is available, and the historical power of the Vatican naturally lead to intense speculation about what might be hidden deep within those vaults. Think about the kind of information that could be in there. Documents relating to controversial historical events, correspondence with world leaders throughout history, records of internal church debates and decisions that could reframe our understanding of major historical moments. What about information on early Christianity that might differ from established doctrine? Or records of investigations into unexplained phenomena, miracles, or even, as some theories wildly suggest, contact with extraterrestrial life. The possibilities are endless and incredibly tantalizing for anyone curious about hidden history. The Vatican has released some incredible documents over time, like the records of the trial of Galileo Galilei, or letters from figures like Michelangelo and Abraham Lincoln, but there are vast sections that remain off-limits or are only slowly being cataloged and made available. This slow drip of information, combined with the sheer age and breadth of the collection, fuels theories that the most explosive paradigm-shifting documents are deliberately kept under lock and key. Are there texts that could challenge the very foundations of faith or reveal inconvenient political dealings from centuries past? The intrigue surrounding the Vatican archives is less about a specific, known discovery that was then covered up, and more about the potential for countless such discoveries to be languishing in obscurity, deliberately or not. It's the ultimate locked room mystery on a global scale. What truths, what scandals, what wonders might be contained in those millions of pages protected by centuries of tradition and layers of carefully controlled access? It makes you wonder what historical bombshells are just waiting for the right, or maybe the wrong, eyes to find them. The Vatican holds so much history it's almost impossible they aren't sitting on some world-changing secrets. For our final mind-blowing discovery, we're diving deep into the Aegean Sea to look at the Antikythera mechanism. This thing is so cool, it's basically an ancient Greek analog computer, found in 1901 by sponge divers in a Roman-era shipwreck off the coast of the Greek island of Antikythera. This corroded bronze device initially baffled experts. It was a complex mess of gears and inscriptions, unlike anything ever seen from that period. An ancient computer found in a shipwreck, its true purpose hidden for years, simply because no one could believe it was real. Imagine pulling this intricate, clockwork-like device from a 2,000-year-old shipwreck. At first, many scholars couldn't comprehend its sophistication. Some even dismissed it as a much later anachronism that somehow ended up with ancient artifacts. The idea that ancient Greeks, around 150 to 100 BC, could design and build something with such precise, interlocking gears to model astronomical movements was almost too much to accept. Its true complexity and purpose remained a mystery for decades, not necessarily due to a deliberate cover-up by authorities, but by a collective underestimation and misunderstanding of ancient technological capabilities. It took decades of painstaking research, X-rays, and advanced imaging technology in the 20th and 21st centuries to truly begin to unlock the secrets of the Antikythera mechanism. What scientists discovered was astounding. This device wasn't just a simple calendar, it was an incredibly sophisticated astronomical calculator capable of predicting the positions of the sun, moon, and possibly planets, tracking the lunar calendar, predicting eclipses, and even indicating the timing of the ancient Olympic Games. It had over 30 precision bronze gears. This was technology that, in some ways, wouldn't be seen again for over 1,000 years. The cover-up here is more subtle. It wasn't a government hiding aliens, but rather the limitations of early 20th century archaeology and a prevailing mindset that perhaps underestimated ancient ingenuity. For years, the full extent of its genius was obscured, its purpose debated and downplayed. It challenged the established timeline of technological development. How could a civilization from that era produce something so advanced? Did this knowledge get lost? And if so, how and why? The device forces us to rethink what we thought we knew about the ancient world. The Antikythera mechanism is a stunning example of lost ancient high technology. Its existence implies a level of mechanical and astronomical understanding that is truly mind-blowing for its time. While not actively hidden by a shadowy organization, its secrets were effectively covered up by the passage of time, the depths of the sea, and our own preconceived notions about ancient capabilities. It makes you wonder what other incredible inventions from antiquity are still out there, lost or misunderstood, waiting to rewrite history all over again. This thing is a testament to forgotten genius. And there you have it, folks. 10 absolutely mind-blowing discoveries that, for one reason or another, were allegedly swept under the rug, hidden away, or had their true significance obscured from the world. These are just a few of the mind-blowing truths history tried to erase. From invisible ships and Siberian explosions to psychic spies and ancient computers, it's clear that sometimes the truth is way, way stranger and more incredible than fiction. And the lengths people or institutions might go to control that truth, well, that's a whole other level of insane. The world is full of mysteries, and as we've seen today, not all of them are ancient. Some are happening right under our noses, or were just a few decades ago. It makes you think, doesn't it? What else is out there, waiting to be uncovered? What other secrets are locked away in classified files, or lying at the bottom of the ocean, or even buried in plain sight, dismissed as myth or folklore? The quest for knowledge never ends, and sometimes that quest involves peeling back layers of secrecy and challenging the official story. So, what do you guys think? Which discovery shocked you the most? Was it the psychic spies, the invisible ship, or maybe that ancient computer? Let us know in the comments down below. I read all of them. And if you want to see more videos where we dive deep into the unexplained and the unbelievable, make sure you smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single upload. We're just getting started uncovering these secrets. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.